There is a brand new helper called the Alchemist coming to Clash of Clans, giving you the ability to change one resource type into another. And in this video, we're going to break down the details of the Alchemist, talk about how to maximize her, and finally how she compares to the other helpers and in what order you should get them in. And guys, you want to stick around because, to be honest, it's not as simple as it looks at first. Now, the Alchemist unlocks at Town Hall 11 and will only cost 100 gems to get to the first level. Once unlocked, she's going to run you through a little guide window like we have for other events, and then once every single day, the Alchemist can change one resource type into another. So you can convert gold into a slightly larger amount of elixir or vice versa, or you can convert gold and elixir into dark elixir at a rate of 1 dark elixir for every 150 gold or elixir. There is a maximum amount of resources you can convert based on the levels of your Alchemist, but you can adjust the slider to get the exact amount of conversion that you want. Now, this conversion is instant, but you cannot overflow your storages and your max resources are still the same. With all that being said, let's talk a little bit about how leveling up affects the Alchemist. Every time you level up, the max amount of resources you can convert goes up, as well as the bonus percentage that you can earn. This table right here details the max amount of resources that you can convert for every level of the Alchemist for gold, elixir, and dark elixir. As you guys can see, the conversion goes all the way from 1.5 million golden elixir and 10,000 dark elixir at the lowest level to 10.5 million gold and elixir and 70,000 dark elixir at the highest level. Now, depending on your town hall level, that is a decent amount of resources that you can convert using this method. Now remember, there is a certain amount of bonus resources that you can get when you convert. This is the amount of bonus resources that you can get at every single level of the Alchemist. Now, I want to say something really quickly. When is the last time that you remember that 2 or even 400,000 gold or elixir individually is the thing that made you raid a base? It's probably not that often, especially because of the new loot mechanics and the amount of loot that we can get in game. You're probably not even thinking about it that hard. So until you get the last 2 levels of the Alchemist, you actually don't see a huge amount of bonus resources for a one time a day thing. And those last 2 levels are at Town Hall 16 and Town Hall 17 anyways. So what I'm trying to say is that the bonus resources that you get from the Alchemist is pretty negligible, and going forward, I'm not even going to talk about the bonus resources at all because it really is not that significant. Now, going back to this chart right here, we can once again see the max amounts of gold, elixir, and dark elixir that you can convert, but how does the percentage of resources that you can convert change as you level up the Alchemist? This chart right here shows the percentage of maximum conversion versus the percentage of cost for the Alchemist overall. Here we start to see some really interesting numbers. For example, for only 2% of the total cost of the Alchemist, you get to see 14% of the max benefits of the Alchemist, and for only 6%, you get to see up to 21% of the benefits. This is going to be really important later on when we talk about the best levels that you should upgrade your Alchemist to get the most out of it. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that are interested to know how many gems it would take to max it out, it's going to take 5,850 gems to max out. And if you're thinking that is a lot of gems, you're 100% right, and we're gonna address that in the future as well. Now, you guys can probably tell a little bit about how I feel personally about this helper from the tone of my voice, but really quickly, let's go ahead and talk about the best ways for you to use the Alchemist if you have it. If you have the Alchemist, the ideal way for you to use it is to avoid resource loss. So whenever your storages are maxed, or you don't have any builders open, or you can't put your heroes down but you have max dark elixir, these are the types of situations that you want to think about. You can also use this method to get a boost to the amount of dark elixir that you have, because dark elixir can be really hard to come by, especially if you're upgrading multiple heroes. So it can be useful in those situations, but I'm going to be honest with you, this helper has a lot of problems. First of all, as a high level player, as a Town Hall 17, as a content creator, why would I spend 6,000 gems doing something in the game that I can simply achieve by nexting on bases that I'm raiding? The ability to convert your resources does sound nice and really convenient, but for the price of 6,000 gems, that is really expensive. Furthermore, if I'm having resource waste and I want to avoid having my resources wasted, instead of spending gems, which is probably the rarest resource in the game right now, I could just do what we've all been doing the last few years and go to the next town hall level and it'll be 100% okay. I mean, yes, if you're a maxer, now you have a way to to finally offload those resources that you have just kind of sitting there, but you can only do this once per day, so it's not really that great. And who could forget about the fact that you could literally just dump your excess resources into walls if that is a problem. Now some of you might be saying,
hey BD, well you could get millions of resources for an upgrade that you need that requires, 15 million gold or something.
And look, I agree with you, and I think it is a really cool feature, but I think it's way too expensive for what we're actually getting. You could spend the 6,000 gems to convert 10 million resources into another type once every single day, or you could simply just spend 25 gems to get a training potion and maybe get that 10 million resources in 20 or 30 minutes. This is why most of the Alchemist can be summarized by being an extreme convenience, because it gives you something you can already get by just playing the game. Now, most of you can probably tell from my tone that I don't really like the Alchemist much at all, so you shouldn't invest any of your gems into it, right? Well, not exactly. The unique thing about the Alchemist is that unlocking it unlocks a feature that's not available in the game. For example, if you unlock the Builder's Apprentice, he can speed up some of your builds, but it's not like you can't build without the Builder's Apprentice. For the Lab Assistant, it's the same thing. It'll speed up your lab research time, but you can still research things with the normal laboratory. But without the Alchemist, you cannot ever convert resources from one type into another, and this is a novel feature. Because of this, I think all players should at least upgrade their Alchemist to level 1 so that they unlock this feature of converting resources. But beyond level 1, it starts to get really hard to justify. Now, going back to this chart right here, I think level 2 is actually pretty decent because for 450 gems, you get 21% of the total effect of the Alchemist. But beyond that, the cost goes up a lot and it gets really hard to justify because all you need to do is either plan your builders better or just do some more raids and you could simply avoid the hassle. If the bonus resources that you got from the Alchemist was a bit more significant, then I'd probably think about it twice and do some more math regarding it, but it's not that significant. So my advice is to just get 1 or 2 levels on the Alchemist and then just wait off on the rest of them. Now the next question is, when should you invest more into the Alchemist and should you ever go beyond those first 2 levels? Unlocking this feature is really important, so I would at least get the Alchemist to level 1 pretty early with that 100 gem cost. I would do this after you have all 5 builders because I think this is a rather decent time to unlock it. After that, I'd make the decision on whether or not you're actually going to use that resource conversion that you get at level 2. If so, then you can get it. If not, then I would just invest into the Builder's Apprentice and the Lab Assistant. For those of you that need an order to upgrade those helpers in, you have this one that is on screen right now. For the remaining super expensive upgrades for the Alchemist, I wouldn't recommend doing them unless you have all the epic equipment as well as both of the other helpers maxed. And yeah, I know I'm basically saying that you shouldn't invest into the Alchemist unless you're maxed. Honestly, that's the situation that we're in. And guys, I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love this feature. I think it's a really good feature, but the costs are crazy, especially when it seems like literally everything costs gems in the game right now. I mean, if you want to get a piece of epic equipment, you better have some gems. If you want to get some helper levels, then you better have some gems. There are a lot of gem costs in the game right now, and this little convenience is not worth the gems. And don't worry, I'm not just going to be an empty complainer. I'm going to give Supercell my feedback as well as my thoughts on how they can improve this feature in the future. And if you guys have any good ideas or feedback, make sure to put it in the comment section down below so I can just read through them and get some ideas too. But overall, out of all the helpers that we got, this is definitely the weakest one and the one that I would urge you to keep your distance from aside from those first 2 levels. Now, the Alchemist isn't the only thing coming out in Clash of Clans right now. We've got tons of other stuff happening like the Snake Festival event, which is good in my opinion. But if you don't know what the best rewards are for this event, you could be missing out on some really awesome boosts for your account. That's why you need to watch this video right here where I break down the best rewards for literally all types of players, whether you spend money in the game or not, and no matter what your town hall level is.